lessons in life are the ones that never leave you. And I think that we count things as lessons, right? This thing and that thing. But it's a joke, right? The lessons that you need to learn one time is when you lose money.
Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome. Construct your life. But this time, I'm going in the interview seat. I know you got used to this guy over the last couple weeks, but Chase is going to interview me, and I'm going to have to answer questions.
You know, this is a fun game to play because the last time I did this, I broke you. I short-circuited Austin Linney.
You keep your weapons to yourself this time, young man. Okay.
They're holstered. Dude. You've seen quite the last year, huh?
Yeah. You know what's interesting about people that they don't realize is Mark, when I met Mark, who produces my amazing podcast, he said, look, I have a rule. He said, here's the rule. When we say we're going to launch a podcast, you don't stop. Like, if you're going to drop it that day, you drop it. And you don't ever miss a week. He said, I don't care about the quality. I don't care about who you're interviewing. I don't even care what it's about. If there's an episode, you drop it. And so I've took that to heart. And when people don't understand that, I would say last year, and maybe you could see it in me, there was about 8 months, I hated this. Not hate's a strong word. I was uninspired to click record because there's personal stuff going on, or you're just not loving the direction of the podcast, and you're talking about the same thing. And so I started thinking about what I would want to do, what I'm in love with right now. And when I started getting and talking about those things and getting guests for that, I felt it click back in. But there's a lesson that you're not always going to be maxed out with your excitement and impact. And it's the game is just to keep up with the consistency.
Weird. You're saying consistency is important, Austin Linney?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Talking about consistency, the consistency has led to some up-leveling for the podcast, huh?
Yeah, I mean, as you can see, guys, I have, I got the email that they were gonna sponsor the podcast, Lead Hub, Ben, Aaron, and Ryan. It was in talks, and then we talked about it for a couple months, and then they had to have some meetings, and then I got an email saying that they were going to be the title sponsor for the podcast. They were going to upgrade the equipment. They were going to make sure they push it out more and help because they run a marketing agency. And for me, I never want to sell anything. It's not my bag. It's not what I do.
Yeah.
So it's very important to me that the partner that's going to promote my podcast and help me continue to do more episodes for y'all is somebody that I align with. And they are I just spent another 2 days with them last week before we recorded this. And I've never left a company feeling more inspired. I'm normally the one inspiring, but everybody, they have 40 people plus. Everybody is so amazing. And they're savages, and they want to help the universe. And it's like, how did you get this many amazing people in one room? And so when they were like, hey, we love your message. We want to make sure it gets in more people's hands. Can we help you expand the podcast? I mean, I jumped at it. So I've had a sponsor from time to time for a month or two here and there, but they are sponsoring it every month for the rest of the year, and it's a big deal because it allows me to get high profile guests. It allows me to expand the reach of the podcast. It allows me to up the production. So it's just a very humbling experience to be able to be getting paid. Not let's calm down with it. It's not a windfall, but it covers the cost of the podcast. To do that is it's an amazing experience. To flip on a record button one day and 4.5 years later, here we are. Guys, let me take a minute to tell you about my buddies over at Lead Hub, Ben and Aaron, the best humans I know. Not only are they amazing at marketing for trade companies, but Ben started his HVAC company in his garage, sold it for multi-million-dollars. So when this guy talks, I listen. When we took over Dietz Mechanical, we had 22 reviews in 22 years. In 7 short months, we went from 22 reviews to 107. We went from a 4.2 to a 4.7. We tripled our Facebook presence and we tripled our calls. If you're an HVAC, plumbing, electric, landscaping company, and you're looking for a no BS approach to marketing, you're looking for people who have done it before, you got to go to leadhub.net.
Do you remember the first podcast we did?
I think so. Yeah.
I remember it. I think you were sitting with you were sitting with a bookshelf behind you. Funny, you got a bookshelf now.
Yeah.
It's just like the room looked a lot smaller than this one. Like it was right behind you. We ran though on that one right away. Mm-hmm. And what's the journey been like 4.5 years ago to when we first connected to now with the show?
So what people don't know is, they might know, but they don't know is that, me getting divorced and me getting laid off happened in an 8-day stretch. And then the next week, I had already 12 podcasts in the hopper. We released the podcast. And then what happened was I got laid off and I had nothing to do. I was still coaching, but I had nothing to do, like a day job. Mm-hmm. So I just started recording episodes, and I was doing 9 to 7 a day, 3 days a week for 11 months. And I didn't know that people only did like 4 a month. And like, I just met like everybody. And it was kind of like my own little mastermind. Mm. And I did so many episodes, and it's like this weird thing where like, first you gain respect with the amount of episodes that you do. Then you gain respect with, this content's pretty good. Then you gain respect by people asking to come on your podcast because they think there's value in it. So it's this game of like, you really need to be doing it for yourself. Yeah. One of the tricks that I did, I promised myself I wouldn't look at the downloads for the first 2 years. And I didn't. And one time I tried to break my first producer, Chris Jacoby. I said, dude, I need you to tell me. And he said, look, hey, you promised me no matter what I did, I'm like an alcoholic, I need you to tell me what the downloads are.
I need that fix.
And he said, let me ask you a question. What's your goal with the podcast? I said, he said, if your goal is that the downloads are going up and to the right, then you're on the right track.
Boom. And did you learn at the end of 2 years where they were?
I was disappointed how early it was and how much there wasn't. But I realized that the messages I were getting and the stories that were being shared on the podcast were what the game was. And over time, it's compounded. What I think is hilarious is the entire first year downloads, the total, we did that this year in January and February.
I believe it.
So it's crazy.
Yeah, even for my show, when I was in the top 5% of fitness podcasts, when I like skipped 2 months of publishing one year, like it's the Dennis Meralda has this stat on recall, and the amount of people that start a podcast, register it, and never do an episode is huge, and the amount of people that get one episode out is even bigger, and then stop. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I mean, how many episodes are you at now? Like 600?
I know it's coming down the pipe, 600. As we sit today, I'm at 576. So you got to understand, though, there's another 60 in brain dump. So over 600, been on about 100 and 150. So in the span of 4.5 years, north of 800 podcasts. So
what does it mean about Austin Linney that he's been on, that he's hosted 600 plus and been on 800 plus podcasts in 4.5 years?
I have no idea. I wish somebody would tell me. What's interesting though is I realized I have about 3 friends who have known me for a while before the podcast, and they've listened to every episode. Former client, one of my best friends, and then another friend, right, who knew me back in the day.
Yeah.
He literally learned personal development then started listening to my podcast. He listened to all of them in like a 2-month span. He said the amount of growth that I saw in you, not your guest, the growth that I saw, angry, sober, angry, mad at the world. And to see you evolve into this like human being, he was like, I literally watched you grow up on the podcast.
Yeah.
And so it's been this evolution of he knows because he texted me. I just talked to him today. Tim Warlow texted me, DM'd me about 30 episodes in. He goes, hey, asshole. He goes, it's for the guest. Stop talking so much and ask more questions. And so on episode 400, he messaged me again, and he goes, hey, you have turned into one of the best hosts I've ever seen. Great work.
Love that. There's something to be said there for hearing that, right? Because I remember when I first got told that my show was great, or when people start coming up to me and saying, hey, man, like, really love what you're doing. So, like, I can resonate with what you're saying. And we talked a bit about, you and I have talked about imposter syndrome before and like not believing that we're supposed to be in the seat. And you have that definitive proof now.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do with that?
I think that I have got some ideas for next year. Not 2024, 2025. Yeah. I really want to do. I'm gonna put together a road case.
Ooh.
And I'm going to be doing in-person interviews as well. But what I'm going to do is like, I know a bunch of people that have sold their businesses, or they've sold half of their business and they're growing. I want to sit with them on their back porch or their office and have a 3-part series about, what's the evolution of this business that you created for 30 years, or what was the evolution of you getting sober, and like really have this like experience with them in the moment where they maybe like, if you carry on the conversation long enough, like some of their guard gets stopped down. So that is something that I'm very excited about. For me, as we were buying businesses and kind of getting more into the business world, I'm more excited about an overall podcast about business in general. One of the things that Mark and I are the most excited about is I think that with the interviews, they're very broad sometimes. So I'm going to be doing solo episodes with myself and then other people, and we're going to pick 1 to 2 topics and spend 20 to 15 to 30 minutes breaking down the topic, getting super tactical about teaching something, right? The new one that's coming out, what's the difference between marketing and branding? Those are 2 totally different things.
Completely different. Yeah.
And so that's the stuff I'm excited about the most, how to evaluate a business, how to invest in, a whole life insurance policy, how to look at marketing, right, when it comes to ad dollars in a home service company. Those are the things that I really want to give people tactical stuff that they can break down, with the goal of taking those episodes, transcribing them, and then doing a book.
I was hoping that's where you were going. When are you going to release that book?
The book about my addiction just hasn't. It's there, but it hasn't written itself yet, because I'm just not. For me, it's not there yet. I feel like there's about 10 books in me, and once I get rolling, they're going to get rolling hot. Me personally, I am not in a place right now where I feel comfortable putting one together. And when that moment hits me, I know it'll be time, and it'll happen really quickly. Now, I will say that the pieces have been planted. I just happened to be at a business conference where the new CEO that wrote Naval's book, Eric Jorgensen, who just took over CEO of Scribe, who the two guys I met that just bought Scribe, him and I are already exchanging emails. So I will say that maybe by the end of the year, we might be beginning the process. I have some of it put down. For me, it's like, do I want to tell the story of my addiction, put that to bed, or do I want the addiction story with the business building and the podcast building? I haven't decided whether it's 2 books or 1 book. But for me, I transcribe everything, and AI is getting even better, is I have it all, and when it's time to put it together, life is about finding the right people for the right job. I haven't found that person for me yet to pull the book out of me, because that's what it's going to take. But I'm taking notes of the last couple years, and I've got stories for everything, and when it's time, we'll cut them loose, and I think it'll be at a feverish pace. I love Dan Sullivan. Like, Dan Sullivan is one of my favorite people, and what he did during COVID is he wrote these, he's written 40, 100-page books. I love those books. Yeah. It's about an idea. He breaks it down. There's pictures. Boom. He's out. It sells them for $1. I love that. Well, that is a tangible something.
100%. And there's so many books that I've read that I'll get halfway through or 2/3 of the way through, and it's like, oh, okay, now you're typing for word count now. The basic ideas here have been laid out. They've been explained.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, so, it's the Pennsylvania internet.
Yeah,
man.
the Pennsylvania internet.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and they're typing for word count after a certain amount of time, Yeah. So, that being said, I know you have a lot of good content that would just run for words and words and words and words. 50,000 words in a book, easy.
I tell you what, this guy I interviewed, Brian Johnson, recently wrote a book called Arate that just came out. He coaches he's the mindset coach for the U.S. Men's soccer team and much other things. I love what he did. So he has, I'm going to say the number wrong, so I apologize, but it's 300 lessons. They're 1 chapters, 3 pages, and he did an audio book to them. I love that. It's I'm going to get up and I'm going to listen to these 2 pages every day. That's the type of stuff I love. I find I love books, but I also find myself putting down a lot of books because it's you're not getting to the point.
Yeah. I mean, dude, Principles by Ray Dalio comes up. There's a lot of good stuff in there, and it's even a long listen.
It's
man.
War and Peace. Yeah,
it's seriously dude, he's lived a great life story, and so here we're hashing out your books here, right? And I think what we're talking about is it's going to be multiple books. You're going to do the autobiography,
yeah,
and then you're also going to do here's the lessons I learned and how you can implement them.
1,000%. And I think that ultimately, the lessons in life are the ones that never leave you. And I think that we count things as lessons, right? This thing and that thing. But it's a joke, right? The lessons that you need to learn one time is when you lose money. You lose money, that's the lesson you're going to remember. But hold on, though. What's the lesson when you learn to ride a bike and you fell off? That lesson is really more impactful your entire life than losing money. But that's the one we choose to remember.
Yeah. Well, or can we integrate the two? When you lose the money, get back on the bike.
1,000%.
Yeah.
The only way that the world wins is by stopping. And I have this weird thing to just okay, that happened. Let's move on.
Yep.
Not compartmentalizing, but what I've learned to do is okay, there's a lesson there. I know there's a deep lesson there. Right now, let me handle what's in front of me. And then over the next 2 weeks, I'm going to let that lesson roll around in my brain and integrate it.
Yeah. I mean, 2 words, it happened. And the more objective that we can be with situations, like it happened, it happened. I've cracked. I've seen full grown men walk around their kitchen crying after they rep it happened, because so many people lack that ability that you're talking about to look at things like it happened. I'm gonna learn from it. I'm gonna move on. I've watched you do that over the last 2 years. I mean, dude, we've been rolling thick. You gotta listen to my mystical giant drivel for 2 years now.
But I think ultimately what I'm excited about the most, and kind of the word I carried over for 2 years, and it was needed.
Yeah.
The word for me, because the lesson didn't get learned hard enough that year, was emotional stability. And the distance that I'm able to create from the act and my feelings toward the act and to keep moving forward has really created a superpower that doesn't allow me to wallow in whatever might happen, because the thing did happen and we can be upset and we can learn from it and we can do all those things, right? But there's a video by Tom Hanks where it's a actors, right? And he says this thing. He says, "I wish I would have learned earlier that this too shall pass." But he adds a caveat onto it. Everything's going good. You're making money. The wind's at your back.
Mm-hmm.
This too shall pass. Everything's against you. You can't get a break. This too shall pass.
Yep.
Well, there's a lesson there. It's on both sides of the coin.
100%. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be ups and downs, and laid out really well there. Where are you going to be 2 years from now?
Well, 2 years from now would be around the time that we are talking about having a baby. So hopefully, if we can somehow wrangle these nomad lifestyle, which I don't know if we ever will, we will have at least a home base for sure. The podcast will be expanded even greater. And I would like to still travel a bunch, but I would like to put down some roots on some property where maybe it's not lived in all the time, but it's a place to come home to when needed, is something that I really focus on. For me, I just turned 41 2 days ago, so my health is a huge deal for me right now. So I just want to be in the best shape of my life, and I want to be doing everything that I love, but I don't want to do anything I don't love. I think that's the thing I'm seeking. For me, there's a thought process that's still high on the list right now, and it's highest output, lowest time. Where is my maximum output for my life, whether that be health-wise, financial, time, flexibility, and what are the highest dollar productive hour things that I can do that matches my skill set? And then how do I surround myself with business partners and people in my life that lift that up to even take that to 10x? That's what I'm seeking only right now.
What's the next area that you're going to seek that in? Is it personal? Is it health? Is it business? What's the?
It's financial. It's financial because for me, I think that the thing I've realized, and I was talking to my dad about this 2 days ago, I am the king of give, everybody first besides me. Knowing that I'm going to have a kid soon, I want that ultimate flexibility for my life. And it's the only thing I seek right now to set myself up for success. So when we do, I'm available to make moves that maybe somebody not in my position would be. So that's what I'm feverishly after right now.
Love it. Phenomenal answer. What else, brother? What else do the people need to hear from Austin Linney as we head into 2024?
I just think to get excited that you're going to hear more of me. We're going to have some high-level guests, high-level conversations. You're going to see us more places. The quality of the podcast is bounced up. Hopefully my sounds great. Mark is finally happy. We got a real mic. He's very excited about that. So just overall, Mark and I and everybody that comes on the show, we're just going to take it up a notch, and we're going to keep bringing you great content. And we're excited to double down on the podcast to continue to bring you more. And my hope is that if something affects you, you send it to a friend, because you have no idea what one sentence, one word, one recommendation can do for somebody. And that's what this thing is. We're not asking you for anything. I don't need anything. I just need it to resonate with you. And maybe it doesn't happen today. Maybe it happens a year from now. A lot of the time what happened with me is people will text me 3 or 4 years later and go, oh, I get what you were talking about.
Yep.
I'm like, okay. So that's what it is. So this is a bank of content and information for you to consume whenever it is that you want. And I hope that we are putting our energy, our effort, and everything. We're investing tons of money in this to make it better, to create a better product. And all I'm asking you to do is to let it enter the ears so it may make you a better husband, wife, father, employee, brother, sister, mother, son, everything. That's what this is about. That's the reason I do it.
Love it.
Awesome. Well, guys, send this to a friend, share it. We'll see you in the new year. Super excited. We'll see you next time.